Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you from a very empty Emirates Stadium. Just some of the Arsenal substitutes sort of warming down on the pitch, which always happens here after games. The subs who haven't been used come on and go for a few warm down routines with the coaches. It's been a really disappointing day for Arsenal. Once again, losing here 2-1 to Brighton. Back-to-back defeats in the Premier League following that really disappointing defeat at Crystal Palace on Monday night. And you have to say Arsenal's Champions League chances now looking very slim. The time of recording this, Tottenham are yet to kick off against Aston Villa. That will be happening very, very soon. And maybe Aston Villa will win that game and it won't look quite so bad. But this was a worrying defeat from Arsenal on the back of what happened at Crystal Palace. It was just another really, really poor performance from Mikel Arteta's side. Obviously, no Kieran Tierney, no Thomas Partey. We wondered what Arteta would do to kind of make up for the loss of two, such very, very influential players. And he went with Granit Xhaka at left back. It was something I wasn't expecting him to do. He did it, and it didn't work. It really disrupted the whole team. I thought, you're moving Xhaka to left back at a time when Thomas Partey's out of the midfield already, so suddenly your two senior midfielders are just gone, and it didn't work. I mean, Granit Xhaka was caught out for the first goal for Brighton, which went in midway through the first half. They broke down the right, Xhaka was out of position, the ball came in and Trossard scored, and then there was just no real response from Arsenal. They did have a goal ruled out right on half-time. Gabriel Martinelli, it was from a set-piece and it ended up getting headed back across goal by Gabriel, I think it was, and Martinelli headed it in at the back post. 4 minutes it took for them to decide it was offside. They were looking at all the different camera angles, trying to work out if there was a foot that was keeping Martinelli onside by one of the Brighton defenders. I think it was Cucurella. And in the end, they decided that he was offside. 4 minutes, an awfully long time. We've just been speaking to Mikel Arteta downstairs in a press conference, and he and I agree with him. I feel if it takes that long for you to decide that it's offside, you surely shouldn't be overturning an on-field decision, because there is an element of doubt in there. But there's no excuses. Even with that decision, Arsenal were poor. They were poor from the start. They looked really disjointed. They had nothing really about them. The changes that Mikel Arteta made just didn't work. Like I said, Xhaka at left back, they just looked really, really unbalanced. Odegaard played deep alongside Smith Rowe, and we've seen that before, and it hasn't worked, and it didn't work again today. Odegaard just wasn't in the areas where he can be really, really effective. You kind of break up that link-up that he normally has with Saka when he plays high up the pitch. And it just left, it was just really comfortable for Brighton. It honestly was. I mean, I think the stats show Arsenal had 20 shots, had 14 in the second half, but it didn't feel like that. Brighton, apart from the last mad 5 minutes when Odegaard pulled a goal back with a deflective shot from distance, and then that sort of set up a bit of a grandstand finish. Arsenal nearly got an equaliser, and Nketiah had a header, really well saved by Sanchez. But before that last sort of mad few minutes, it was really, really comfortable for Brighton. And it was just really, given what's at stake, that was really, really disappointing. And Mikel's been speaking about it in his press conference just now, and he accepted that they weren't good enough. He said that they just offered the crowd nothing to get the crowd into the game, and he still says there's a beautiful challenge ahead of them in terms of the top four, and that they've still got it all to play for with 8 games to go. But if Tottenham win at Villa today, which the way Tottenham are playing at the moment, you think they probably will, then that leaves Arsenal really difficult situation with some really difficult games to go, and with 2 of their most important players missing, that you imagine, or Tierney's certainly out for season, you imagine Partey's going to be out for season. It's just a struggle to see how they come back from this. We'll have to wait and see. They might, you never know, they might surprise us, but they've got that game at Southampton next week, and that is absolutely crucial. They simply have to get 3 points on the board in that game against Southampton, who got spanked 6-0 by Chelsea today. And go into the games against Chelsea and United, which are coming up on the back of a win. They can't not win at Southampton next week if they want any chance of still trying to get into this top 4 race. Okay, player ratings at time. Not the highest, as you would imagine, after this really disappointing 2-1 defeat here against Brighton. I mean, Aaron Ramsdale didn't have much to do. Brighton, I think they only had 8 shots, and the first one from Trossard was their first shot in the entire game. Second one, a really good goal, and Ramsdale got a touch on it, but he couldn't really keep it out. Other than that, he did everything he needed to. I'll give Ramsdale 6. And the rest of it, it's going to be really tough to score these. No one played well. It's not even a case of no one playing very well. No one played well. It was just a really disappointing game. Like Cedric, I thought, was pretty poor at times. I'm going to give Cedric a 4. I'm going to give Ben White and Gabriel, they're both going to get 4s as well. The centre-backs just didn't really. I mean, they weren't under loads of pressure, but they couldn't really set the tone. It was just, it's tough to give player ratings after a performance like this, because Arsenal as a collective, as a team, were so underwhelming and so off the pace. Xhaka played at left back. Like I said, he got caught out for the first goal, just offered absolutely nothing going forward, and that's not to blame Xhaka. He's a centre midfielder, he's not a left back, he shouldn't be playing there in the first place. And give Granit a 3. Sambi Lokonga had one shot in the second half which went just wide, would have been a brilliant goal, but I thought Sambi struggled at time. He kind of, in the first half, he looked nervy, he hadn't played for a long time in the Premier League, hadn't started in the Premier League for a long time. I thought he struggled. I think give Sambi a 3. Odegaard, poor. I thought it was no surprise that Arsenal looked at their most threatening when, in the last sort of few minutes, they kind of ripped up the system that Arteta had gone for, and they allowed Odegaard to get in the final third of the pitch, and he scored the goal, albeit by a deflection, and was more involved in the game, and then Arsenal looked more threatening. They've got to get him in the final third. It's just wasted having Odegaard playing deep. Odegaard in the 4. Smith Rowe I thought was really poor. He got substituted in the second half, and he Smith Rowe a 3. Saka didn't really do anything all game. I'm going to give him a 4. Lacazette, absolutely awful. Had 8 passes. 8 passes, stayed on the whole game. 8 passes in the whole game for Lacazette. That's how bad and just ineffective he was. I said before the game I didn't want him to start, and I mean, it's a real decision that Mikel Arteta's going to have to make against Southampton. I thought Eddie Nketiah, who came on, offered more in the 20 minutes on the pitch than Lacazette did. Has done in the last 180. Really poor afternoon for Lacazette. He gets 2 at most. Martinelli was Arsenal's best player. He went off in the second half. He'd kind of run himself into the ground. He was Arsenal's best player without looking very threatening. Obviously unlucky not to have that goal ruled out right on the stroke of half time. So I'm going to give Martinelli man of the match, but he gets a 5 out of 10. Like I said, the substitutes came on in the second half. Nketiah nearly scored with a really good diving header at the end, but he's only on for 20 odd minutes, so I'm not going to give him a mark. Same with Nicolas Pepe. Just a really disappointing afternoon all round here for Arsenal. Like I said, Martinelli man of the match, but no one gets above a 5. That's just a really disappointing one. I'm sorry to sound so downbeat, but I'm not really sure what else to say at the moment. It's a look at what's going on behind me now. The groundsman, last one's out there on the pitch. Graham Potter's just been speaking down to the media guys down there for Brighton. I mean, great win for him. And Brighton came into this game, they'd not won in their last 7. They'd only scored 1 goal in their last 7 league games. It felt like the perfect team for Arsenal to play, and yet they couldn't get the job done. What an absolute sucker punch. After you sort of go back to that Aston Villa win, which was only about 3 weeks ago now, and it kind of felt like Arsenal had 1 foot in the Champions League after that victory. Now you look at the league table and you think they're going to be in a fight just to get a Europa League spot if they don't pull their socks up quickly. But those injuries, you just wonder, you just look at it and think, how are Arsenal going to recover? Because Mikel's got to do something different. He's got to find a system that works without Tierney and Partey, because what he used today did not work. And I think if he uses if this is what he's going to go for between now and the end of the season, then Arsenal are going to really struggle to pick up any sort of points, let alone the amount of points they would need to get themselves in the Champions League. Really, really disappointing day here at the Emirates. It's finished Arsenal 1, Brighton 2.